This is Gao Ying. When I was young, I loved archery. I was very diligent in my academic studies, and I was eager to serve the country. When I reached out to people, I was very sincere and open-minded. I was a great admirer of Lord Xingling, especially the stories about his generosity and open-mindedness. In my 20s, I would practice with the best archers in our city. Those archery aces included famous people like Sun Luzheng, Sun Levhi, and Li Maozian, among others. I apologize for butchering the pronunciation of those names. We would also talk about archery technique, and I was able to improve very quickly. Especially Sun Levhi was the biggest influence. He was bold and generous, down to earth, but also well educated. He was benevolent, but could also kick ass. I have a sneaking suspicion the guys threw that in there. I learned a lot from all those guys. I can say they were true friends. Then there was Quan Shizhen, the most famous person from our city, and a veteran from the victory in the Imjian War. In 1601, I had a chance to visit him and talk about archery. I obtained a copy of his book, Commentary on Archery, studied it, and was able to continue to improve quickly. But I still did not feel I could carry out archery training by myself. So I hung out with military officers and other archery aces from the area. If their shooting had good points, I would humbly ask them for advice. Over a number of years, I continued to learn from others and improve my form. Up to this point, I had 10 years archery experience, and I felt my technique had fully matured. In 1603, we had the municipal military exam. I would shoot and penetrate the target. Almost all of my arrows hit the mark. At that event, I received a lot of praise from my peers from Sanwu, and I was pretty content with the outcome. But suddenly there came a famous archer from just up the river. He was a very stalwart looking guy. As soon as he opened the bow, he would release quickly, and the arrows would hit the target as soon as you heard the string make a sound. I was very impressed and wanted to learn his way of shooting. Although parts of his technique were commendable, who would have known that his form was in fact fraught with problems? At the time, I did not know how to differentiate good form from bad. I learned his technique, as well as the flaws that came with it. After 3 years, the problems seeped into my bones. Day after day, my ability to reach full draw diminished. My ability to hit the target was diminishing too. At that point, I realized what I was doing wrong, and it was difficult for me to correct at the time. After 3 years, it was 1613, I went to the military exams in Beijing. At that time, I was 43 years old. Skilled archers from all the prefectures and townships came. I approached the best of the archers to talk about the details of archery techniques. Rather than just talking about what made a good shot good and what made a bad shot bad, we talked about potential faults behind an accurate shot, as well as potential merits behind a shot that did not hit the mark. We figured out the causes of and the corrections between all these technical problems. Then it suddenly dawned on me that I had to fix my bad habits. For the next 5 years, I devoted a vast amount of energy to correcting my technique. I gave myself a very detailed regimen that I followed day and night. After another 3 years, my muscles were getting weaker, my problems getting deeper, and I was definitely not able to reach full draw steadily. My form became messed up in so many ways. My brain knew that I had to correct, but my arms were not cooperating. At that point, I was 45 years old. I knew the problems, but could not get rid of them. That was when I switched to shooting left-handed, taking all the experience I accumulated to train a new side. No problems emerged, and my technique was solid. After 5 years, my newly trained form matured. Quite often, I get hit wherever I aim for. In 1616, I attended the exams in Beijing once again. Due to significant events that happened that year, generals from all the provinces gathered there together. These generals knew what was going on, and they each brought their own military entourage. Although bystanders said my shooting was good, I knew in my heart that was not the case. Why? When shooting left-handed, my draw hand was weak and could not match the strength of my bow hand. Ultimately, this was the difference in strength. The arrow would not behave in flight. The situation was like a musical group with the different instruments out of balance. They might have a strong beat and made loud noises, and people who do not know any better will think it is good. But people who know music will appreciate it. Later on, I returned to shooting right-handed. Fortunately, it had been so long since I'd shot right-handed that my injury had mostly gone away, and my form was easier to fix. Moreover, I did not want to abandon 20-plus years of practicing right-handed, so I was determined to fix things. I started with a light bow, and for the next 5 years I worked to get rid of my old problems, focusing on correct technique until I was able to get my form more and more under control. But 10 to 20% of the problems were still there because of my old injury. The issue of failing to reach full draw steadily would still resurface once in a while, and I was not able to hit the target as much as I did back in 1603. Moreover, my strength was fading. Alas, I am already 66 years old now. I practiced archery for 40-plus years. As soon as I understood my problems, it was too late to fix them. If I knew correct technique early on, and if I knew how to avoid bad form, then I would not be struggling like I am now. My body has suffered a lot. Yet I now know how to work hard to correct these problems. Although I put in a lot of effort to correct these faults, they were ultimately too deep to eliminate completely. That is why I'm writing Common Mistakes. In this chapter, I will discuss 10 or so of the more common mistakes in detail. Based on your understandings of these common faults and other random faults, will become easier to diagnose. He really, really loved archery.